In this video, I'm going to talk to you about riding with a passenger on a motorcycle as well as a specific communication device. Here we go. The first thing you want to do when riding with a passenger, and even when riding with yourself, is to make sure the bike is operating in good condition, that it's safe to ride. Check the lights, check that the brakes work, check the PSI in the tires, check the tire threads, check the drive train, even adjust the suspension so it doesn't feel like you're driving an army truck. On this specific bike, you can also turn on the torque, which is useful when riding with a passenger, because that means it can manage heavier loads with good performance. Make sure your passenger has a helmet, that they're wearing gloves, boots, that they have a jacket. Overall, make sure that your passenger is well equipped to ride and that they are protected with the proper motorcycle gear. Don't forget to put down the passenger foot pegs. When I ride with a passenger, I obviously ensure that I'm wearing a helmet, that I have gloves, that I have proper gear, including a jacket and boots, and riding pants. For me, what I like to do before a passenger gets on the motorcycle is to position myself. I move the bike in an upright position, I move up the kickstand, I turn on the bike, put the bike in first gear. I have one hand on the clutch, another hand on the throttle and brake. I find that while having 2 feet on the ground while the passenger gets on the bike helps me to stabilize the bike so that the bike is balanced and doesn't rock or tip. The other way for you to prepare to have a passenger on your bike is to have the kickstand down and have the bike leaned left. You would hold on to the bike and the passenger would get on. For me, I find this challenging because once the passenger is on, which adds more weight to the bike, then I have to struggle to straighten up the bike. And given my strength or lack of strength, it's challenging. So I prefer the other way, which is the kickstand up and the bike ready to go once that passenger is on the bike. But for you, play with it. See which way works for you the best. You have to negotiate balance and weight. And for each person, that's going to vary. When you, as a driver of the motorcycle, are ready to receive a passenger, then let them know that you are ready. Let the passenger know that you are ready for them to mount the bike on the left side. Also, let the passenger know not to make harsh, drastic, or jerky movements on the bike. Let the passenger know that they can hold onto your waist, your shoulders, any bike supporting racks that you have on your bike. Have them sit basically straight. They can lean over your shoulder so they can also see forward, but let them know not to tilt their body in drastic movements. Also, let your passenger know to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Mwah. Let's talk about how you as a driver are going to communicate with the passenger as you are riding. 2 ways that you can communicate with your passenger include the old-fashioned way of little taps and 2, the modern Bluetooth way. In terms of tapping, really you're going to have to figure it out with the passenger what 1 tap or 2 taps are going to mean. For me, when I ride with the passenger, I let them know that 1 tap, that is when they tap me, means to go, and 2 taps means to stop. Let's look at Bluetooth devices. There are many on the market out there. This one is Moman. Moman and Moman. They come as a set of 2, basically a pair. So if you're riding with a friend, they make perfect sense, and they're very inexpensive. On Amazon, I got them for just over $100 Canadian. I find that the reception is really clear. As well, it allows you to answer phone calls and to play music. This is what the Moman box looks like. In this box comes a set 2 of the Bluetooth devices, as well 2 speakers and a microphone, 2 speakers and a microphone. You can adjust the volume right here as you're riding. Obviously, the faster you go, the higher you're going to need the volume, just because the wind becomes very loud. Right in there, if you can see it, is one of the speakers. Some other tips and tricks to keep in mind when riding with a passenger, I wrote them down. One is braking. Braking takes a little bit longer when you have someone on the back, and as a driver you want to avoid harsh and quick braking, because what happens is your bodies are going to collide and your helmets are going to collide, and your passenger is probably going to be a bit freaked out. So try to brake gently and with ease if possible. Another tip to keep in mind is that your passenger will probably need to stop more often than you do, simply because their legs are going to get cramped. I mean, the riding position for them, especially on the back of this type of a bike, it's not the greatest. Be mindful of your passenger's comfort when you're taking someone on the back of a bike. Having said that, every bike is different. I mean, if you're in one of those $30,000 cruiser bikes, there's probably not going to be an issue with that. Another tip is that when it comes to slow turns, especially on this bike, I find when I have a passenger, my turns are wider, and maybe that's because I'm not as experienced making those turns with a passenger. So keep that in mind when you're going to make a turn and you have a passenger on the back. It might have to be a bit wide. If it's a shorter turn, you might drop the bike. So keep that in mind. Also, I want to go back to braking. When I brake and stop at a light with a passenger, I always have 2 feet on the ground. I don't have my left foot on the ground as I would if I'm just riding by myself, and my right foot on the brake. So 2 feet on the ground when you have a passenger, it really helps to balance and stabilize the bike. I find that the slower the speed with the passenger, the less stability I feel in the bike, and with higher speeds I feel more stable with the passenger on the back. Having said that, I'm not talking about going 200 kilometers an hour, but maybe like 60 or 80. The bike feels more solid than it does when it's going 10 or even 5 kilometers per hour with a passenger on the back. So there you have it. I mean, use judgment in terms of the extra weight and get comfortable balancing another person. Remember, you're responsible for your life and the person riding on the back of the motorcycle. Ride with safety and caution, and obviously have fun. That's what riding is all about.